Hi, this is Elizabeth from Argentium Silver, and I'm going to show you 3 different options that you have for joining Argentium to Argentium, or to anything else actually. So the first option for joining pieces of Argentium to pieces of Argentium is fusing. So I'm just going to add a little bit of flux to the joint. So fusing, you have no solder cleanup, obviously because you're fusing. But you do have to do this a little bit gently. So I'm actually bringing the heat in and out because it will get hot very quickly on thin wire. And I'm just watching to see when the wire comes up to temperature. So I'm looking for it to get wet, and I'm looking for both wires to look wet. So I'm hoping that that will have done it. So there's no cleanup with that. So both wires are joined perfectly. So it's a very nice way of being able to assemble pieces and fiddly little pieces without having to clean up and worry about solder. The next one, I'm going to use some medium hard solder wire. I'm going to flux the joint, which is here. And with the solder, you do definitely need the flux. With the solder wire, you need the flux and a steady hand. So I'm just going to pop that on there. So I'm going to warm up all around. And it will ball up, don't worry about it, because when you get it up to temperature, it will flow quite nicely down the joint. So there it has flowed. So as you can see, it's filled the joint quite nicely and quite cleanly. So there's minimal cleanup really. This is the Argentium Easy Solder Paste. So you need to screw the nozzle part in. You don't need to put any flux with this because this has flux ready mixed in with it. So I am going to solder this joint. So there's a little bit of burning off, so just make sure that you're in a well ventilated area. And if you carry on warming, you will in a minute see the solder disappear down the gap. There we are. So that's the solder paste in action, the Easy Solder Paste, and it is very easy and very nice and clean. So I'm going to just give you a quick resume as to the options for joining Argentium. We have solder paste, we have solder wire, and there's the option to fuse. And you might think, well, why do I need different options? Surely I just want to join it. There are occasions that being able to fuse something very delicate and very fine and very quickly, you won't necessarily need to solder. You can fuse it and there'll be no cleanup. The solder paste is great if you're doing something very quick and you need a very quick, easy fix on something. And the general solder wire is great for everyday applications that you would normally do with sterling silver. There is a big difference between fusing with Argentium and soldering. And that is that when you solder, you're filling a gap in the material. So you're adding a second component. So it's not fixed forever. You can remelt that joint. If you fuse it, once you've fused the piece of Argentium in place, it is there forever. The only way to get them apart is to either snip them off with a pair of snips or to piercing saw it off. Now, you might say, well, that's a problem, but actually it's a great option if you're building something that's very complex, that's got layers and lots of decoration, because you can carry on adding and you know wherever you've put each piece, it's going to stay exactly in the same place. If you solder it, there's the chance it can move. So you have flexibility and options when you're building much more complicated pieces to be able to fuse and solder. You can do both things in the same piece. There's no rules with this. It's entirely up to you what you choose to do.